The ATO can get stuffed. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. I have my morning stein of coffee, and I thought we'd have a look at this article from Business Insider Australia, because frankly, I think it encapsulates the mood of a lot of Australians, and part of the reason why so many people took advantage to actually get their super out. And now you're hearing in article after article threats about the ATO clamping down on people. And, the union-controlled super and the bank-controlled super all crying that people are going to be worse off because they've taken their own money out. And other articles where one guy may have spent it on gambling, so we all should be punished. It's very paternal, isn't it? You can't even take care of your own money. You can't even be trusted to keep what you earn. We have to force you to set it aside. Force you to set it aside. I was talking to one of my mother's friends, an older generation. She was saying how it's just, this generation doesn't save or doesn't put anything aside. And I go, well, two reasons. One, we didn't have all these forced removals of our pay. We weren't forced to pay super. We weren't forced to do this. Well, we are. You weren't back in the day. It only came in at 92. And it's so far out of reach now. Some people lose hope. So they're thinking, you know what, stuff it. A house is never going to be achievable. So I'll have that smashed out. They're hopeless. So if this comes through, you get the homeowner grant. You get the super money that you can take out for the first time in your life. I don't blame people thinking, I want a house. I'm going to use this. Stuff them. They can go to hell. I don't blame them. I can completely understand. I hated having a big chunk of money sitting there in super that I couldn't touch, and we were struggling to get a deposit together for our house. Seemed utterly insane. I would rather take the super out now and just decimate the mortgage. I know I'm not gonna be as well off in further years, but I'd rather be debt free and then build up again. And you know what the one benefit of that would be? Absolutely no stress. Stress would be gone from your life. Not having to pay that mortgage off. And, if you've watched the channel regularly, I bought a fixer-upper, so our mortgage isn't that much of a stretch. Compared to some of the others I'm seeing. I was looking at, I think John Adams sent me a Facebook post for a house down in Wollongong. A little 2.5 bed or 3 bed, if you count the study as a bedroom, specky, weatherboard house, over 800 grand, and the mortgage repayments on that would be over 3,000 a month. Just crazy. And you couldn't even lift it. At least here in Queensland, when you buy these weatherboard, fixer-uppers, you can do a lot of the work yourself. You can repaint it. You can reclad it yourself if you want to. It's a lot easier than being a brickie. And you can raise it up, build underneath, double your house size. Or get a new garage down there, Eventually, we plan to build more bedrooms down there, and I'll get my office and studio at the front of the house. Not I'm at the back in the little music studio a former owner built. So that's part of the reason why we bought a fixer-up, because we saw the potential. It doesn't seem to be done as common in other parts of the country. So, there you go. So let's have a look at this, because I think this really shows a lot of the sentiment of Australians out there. They're frustrated, they're pissed off, they're angry, and now the ATO is threatening them. They're doing everything they can to get a home for their family. Just think about this. You need to pay the state. You need to pay the government so they can frivolate it away on one crazy scheme after another. Maybe something you don't even ideologically agree with, before you provide a house for your family. Before you even have food on the table. And then they tax you too much, and then they give you your tax back, and you're meant to be all happy. The ATO can get stuffed. Meet the Australians using their super to get onto the property ladder. Now, it may not be the best time to get onto the property ladder, but you can't blame people for wanting to jump in. Some Australians are using the government's early access to super scheme in a desperate bid to buy a home. Despite being eligible for it, they have simply declared themselves in financial hardship in order to withdraw up to $20,000 of their super, or 40 grand, for couples to use as a home deposit. There you go. Who can't understand why they're doing that? It may not, financially, it may not be the smartest thing to do. But there's the security to having your own home, even if you're paying it to the bank. You know, the bank isn't going to come and check you every quarter to make sure you're living right. You're not going to need the bank's permission to do things to your house, to put up a picture frame or something, or to even keep pets. You know, this government let house prices go through the roof with negative gearing so they can deal with the consequences of first home buyers doing whatever they can to get in. One told Business Insider Australia. And, well, yeah, that's part of the reason, isn't it? Negative gearing. If we look here at this quote from the Candlelight Effect, and this is hundreds of years ago, you know, it refers to a change in relative prices resulting from a change in money supply. Now, when people are borrowing money to invest in housing, one reason to do that is to negate the taxation burden that they place on all of us. You get an increase in the money supply, and that's the flow path into the economy through housing. So then we have this wonderful, wonderful problem here where housing goes up. And you get so many geniuses selling you their scheme of becoming rich on housing. And if you look into it a little bit deeper, if you scrape through the surface, through the veneer, through the fancy suits and the pocket squares, I like the pocket squares, by the way, that's why we sell them, you can see that a lot of it's luck. Nothing wrong with that. Perfectly fair. That's life. But, you know, I wouldn't be shelling out $1,000, $2,000 to them for their course, everyone. Having long been priced out of the market, many young Australians are beginning to dip into their retirement savings in an effort to buy a home. And the thing is, if you have a home paid off when you hit retirement, you're better off. You're better off. There's a level of security there. While Australia's affordability crisis is nothing new, the federal government's Early Access Super Scheme has offered an unconventional way for them to get a foot on the ladder, allowing individuals to get a hold of 20 grand of their retirement savings. The scheme is being used by many to cobble together a home deposit. And you've got to understand, the problem is housing has gotten so expensive. So building up enough of money for a deposit is a mission. And other costs are going up everywhere as well. Food's getting more expensive. Petrol's getting more expensive. They're adding more taxes and costs to everything. And it means that's where the hopelessness comes in. This may be the first time people have ever actually been able to cobble together enough. Or it's enough just to get them over to that next level. When I found out that I could access that money and put it towards my future now, I went for it. Matt, 26, told Business Insider Australia. Both he and his partner took out 10 grand each at the end of this financial year, despite the fact neither actually met the eligibility criteria. Both were approved by the ATO, which greenlit many such applications without actually confirming they qualified, instead promising to audit them coming tax time. Equipped with extra savings, the young couple began applying for mortgages but found little luck. Since getting the money and going down countless avenues to sort out finances, we've found that no financial institution wants to touch us because of financial hardship, Matt said. My loan advisor exhausted every avenue he could to try to get us finance, including the Big Four and many smaller financial institutions, but no one would go near an applicant that has taken out their super. Well, mate, you gotta wait. You gotta wait. You gotta slow down. See, he's suffering from FOMO. They're just jumping at it crazy. Wait another year. Wait another year. It may be better in the long run. Mortgage brokers have told Business Insider Australia this experience is a common one, with lenders almost universally reticent to lend hundreds of thousands of dollars to people who have essentially just declared themselves insolvent. The irony isn't lost on applicants like Matt. Having knowingly broken the rules in a desperate bid to own a home, they've found they can't get a loan anyway, for now at least. Yeah, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. You know, just wait. Just wait. And this is probably the best thing that could happen to him. So he's suffering from FOMO. It's an emotional response, jumping in there now. But, you know, have a look. There's mortgage holidays still to disappear. There's JobKeeper to disappear. There's Job Seeker Bonus to disappear. There's an actual official declaration of a recession to come about. There's the, removal of the freedoms to trade while insolvent. The liability for directors, that needs to be reinstated. So, you know, I'd be waiting a bit longer before I'm jumping in right now. Just wait and see what happens in the markets. There's always going to be houses there, everyone. They don't just suddenly disappear. People will always need to sell. Wait till the boomers start to retire en masse, then you're going to have a lot of housing stock available. Matt intends to wait 3 months on the assumption the money will then be considered genuine savings in the eyes of the lenders. Some such applicants are getting through, Mortgage Choice franchisee Caroline Jean Baptist told Business Insider Australia, with some lenders happy to focus on the serviceability of otherwise good borrowers. It certainly doesn't seem like the regulators has a problem with it. Well, they want to chuck everything they can at property. Everything they can at property. And, once you get in, you just build up your super again. You lose a few years of that compounding effect. But you get a home. You get into the housing market. Oh no, he got in at 26. Even if it just crashed, but he sits in there for 30 years, is it going to make a difference? It might if it crashes a lot and it doesn't recover. That could be it could actually be a bad thing. So maybe he's lucky that they're forcing him to slow down. An ASIC spokesperson confirmed that despite the grey area the scheme has opened up, responsible lending laws wouldn't strictly prevent it. Exactly. This is what I've heard. What I've heard from brokers. I've said, that they don't care. Matt, for one, says he is happy to wait a little longer. At least 3 months will give me more time to see what the market is going to do. Some say it will plummet, others say it will drop slightly, he said. The consensus seems to be that the market will come down, just a matter of how much and when. So there are few distinctives for Australians to. There are few disincentives for Australians to crack open their super balance. I mean, that's the thing. We're forced to save, and I've got another article we'll look at where Paul Keating, showing his just lack of understanding of the average Australian now, is calling for continued increases to super. I mean, here's the thing: how many politicians finish their career up on these big funds or working for these investment banks, all tied to this? Then they get, it's a path to financial security for them. How long has it been since they've actually had to struggle to save for something? Most of them are from a generation where they wouldn't have even been burdened with the costs that the generations now are. That's one thing I've been thinking of, particularly for younger people now. You don't need to look at the lifestyle of your parents because you're not going to achieve that. It's not possible. Just wages aren't as high, opportunities aren't there, money, everything costs too much. You need to look further back. You need to look at how the greatest generation lived. How they lived, how they survived, going through the war, how they came out of that. That's what you need to look at. You need to mimic them. Because I think a lot of people, it's going to be a bit of a hard realization that they're not going to get the quality of life that their parents got. While the ATO is talking tough on the penalties it has planned for ineligible applicants like Matt, it's doing little to scare them off. Sam, 28, is a body corporate manager. Frustrated at being priced out of the Melbourne property market, he's getting ready to follow Matt's lead. If property prices are going to be so ridiculously high in this country, then I don't blame every single Aussie for accessing 20 grand of their super to put towards a house, he told Business Insider Australia. Exactly, this is our money that we are being forced to put in control of other parties. We are being forced. It's part of your pay. It is part of your pay. I earn a modest 80 grand package. If I can save 10 grand a year, then you don't need to be a rocket scientist to work out that I'll be dead before I can even buy a small home here, he said. I'll do everything I can, including withdrawing my super, to help at least pretend I'm going to get there eventually. By withdrawing 20 grand in super, he figures he's saving himself from having to go through 2 years of hard work just getting by. Well, no, you want to do that too. You want to add that. I've got 50 grand in savings, which I worked my guts out for 6 days a week. So there you go. And here's the scary thing, everyone. If all of these people, all of their savings is inflated away to nothing, that's the hidden tax that they're pushing for. Sam knows that even with the leg up, he won't be able to buy his dream home anytime soon. Instead, he's looking south towards Frankston, an outer suburb on the Melbourne fringe, where he thinks he might be able to buy something for around $550 for a first home. That's still a big mortgage to service. Here's the thing, he needs to get married. He needs to get married. Well, look at that. I mean, we've come to a point now where you definitely need a couple to both work, to both get together to even afford to get into a home. You know, where Rachel's grandparents, you know, her grandfather, you know, he didn't want his wife to work, but she did. You know, and all that money went into investments because he wanted to provide for the family himself because he could afford to. Is that even possible these days on the average wage? You can't really keep a house anymore, can you? You can't really keep a family. Can you go on a holiday a few times a year? That's what I'm talking about, quality of life, guys. It's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same. The fact that he might have to wait 3 months doesn't faze him, but he's indignant at the thought he could be penalised. Who gives a shit what Aussies do with their super money? Well, the super funds do, the unions do, and the banks do. It's your money, so no one, including the greedy ATO, should have any care about what I do with my own superannuation, which I worked for, he said, adding the tax office can get stuffed if he did. Good on you, Sam. I'll raise a schnein to you there. I agree with you there. But, mate, they've got the ability to fine you, threaten you, put you in jail. And you live in Victoria, so you got it extra bad, mate. I'm hoping all this... See... I'm worried that people will pivot to the left, to a more authoritarian government taking care of you existence. And we're starting to see that. There's idiots out there who are praising Andrews, praising him, saying, oh, I never thought he was a good leader. I've seen all the Facebook posts and all of these things. Please send them to me. I should do a video on them. But it's kind of depressing. There seems to be very little discussion about individual responsibility. You know, individual freedoms, liberty, not even discussed anymore. Yeah. And some people are saying, you know, it's not really left to right, that's not important. And essentially it isn't. There is no... Well, the political movement in Australia to advocate for individual responsibility and liberty is pretty small. You know, you've got some parties that are advocating for that. They've got small presence around the country. But, I mean, you know, our two main parties are quite interventionist, everyone. Just to the degree that they are. So give me my 20 grand. Give me at least a slither of a chance to get ahead in life and buy a property, he said. Yeah, well, you've been forced to give your money to these people so they can charge fees of it. They can make money of it. They can control it. Because you're too dumb to do your savings. You're too dumb to do your savings. And there'll be people that go, oh, you know, these stupid plebs. Well, you know, you're paternalistic. You're authoritarian if you believe that. You know, just line up there and send all the people you don't like to the gulag. If people don't think the way you do, or if they don't act the way you want them to act, that's where it goes towards. This is just one step down that path. We're becoming a nation of bloody Karens here in Australia, dibber-dobbing on everyone else. It's getting annoying. You know? This is the thing. I think a lot of people here don't realise where this heads. Have you ever had any family members sent to jail for their political opinions? This government let house prices go through the roof with negative gearing. So, okay, we've already read that. Australians should think twice about buying a home with super. Clearly, $12,000 fines may not be enough to frighten would-be home buyers, but those looking to buy a home with their superannuation money should consider whether it's truly in their best interest. Financial planner Adele Martin has had plenty of clients ask her about doing it and remains circumspect on the idea. I understand why people would want to use it to buy a house, but they really have to be asking themselves what they're losing by doing so, Martin said. Yes, home ownership and having a roof over your head is great, but how much is it costing you? While Martin says she has no problem with people using it in this way, she wants them to understand the trade-offs. With the first tranche of withdrawals coming after the pandemic had rattled stock markets and economic forecasts, many may have taken their money out at a significant loss. At least 500,000 left themselves with nothing for retirement. But that tells you. That tells you if you had nothing for retirement, you know, what was the point of even having it there for those 500,000 people? By withdrawing it, you're locking in those losses today, and it means the money is never going to have a chance to recover, Martin said. In her experience, it's mostly a younger generation like Matt and Sam who are considering taking the leap. It's interesting that this early access scheme has been more popular than the government's first home super saver scheme, she said. Under that particularly complex scheme, and that's the problem, it's a complex bloody mess. applicants can effectively use the superannuation system to maximize the tax efficiency of their savings. It's perhaps unsurprising, though, that prospect is less enticing than simply getting the money with basically no questions asked. Here's the thing with that scheme. If you're saving for a deposit, do you want to have the money somewhere where if an emergency comes up, you can get to it, or where you can't get to it? There's the thing. There's the thing. If the car breaks down, you need $2,000. Boom. Or you got to file paperwork and kiss the ATO's ass and put all this shit together. What do you think people are going to go for? Yeah. But while home ownership is an appealing prospect, Martin said it's not as simple as just getting a deposit together, with mortgage applicants needing to prove they can make repayments. She suggests that applicants consider all the government schemes on offer, as well as other options such as using their parents as guarantors before simply spending their super, using their parents as guarantors. For some, that boat has already sailed. See, there's a lot of people that can't use it. And the government, it's always, the government will help us. They made the bloody mess, everyone. You've got GST driving up the cost of housing. You've got a huge influx of foreign buyers driving up the cost of housing. You've got a country that is dependent on migration to drive up the cost of housing, to create this illusion that our GDP is growing when it's actually going down well, no, it's still growing, but the growth is going down per person. So we're getting, we're still improving, but we're getting worse off. Where wages haven't grown in living memory. Really, they haven't. Where inflation is chipping away, and inflation, the rates that they propose, doesn't really take account of the cost of housing. Housing has shot up. Property's shot up. We're property obsessed. Property obsessed. And then if it's so high, people struggle their whole life. Guy earning $80,000 can barely save enough to get a deposit together. Rents are insane. I've been looking at 4 videos the last couple of days, looking at just rents falling in one city after another. And they're falling to $500 a week. $500 a week. No wonder people are giving up. They're losing hope, and they're holding on to this with everything they can as an opportunity to get access to their own bloody money. And if all the Karens out there, and I'm sorry if your name is actually Karen, that's an internet meme of the dibberdobbers. The two, the type. The type of women that are going, oh, you should wear a face mask or stand away. Just... Oh, this is one of the advantages of working from home and not working in an office. I don't have to deal with that office politics BS. Oh, that was good. No, that's good. I've worked in environments like that. Can you imagine how much I enjoyed it? So, yeah. I mean, good luck to them. Good luck to them. Maybe waiting a little bit is smart, too. It's smart. But it's people's money. People's money. I wonder... Would it even be politically possible to advocate for a removal of mandatory superannuation? Make it completely voluntary. Do you think if you went forward with that political platform, you wouldn't wind up, in a hole somewhere? Do you think it's even possible? It's an alliance, isn't it? You've got the unions are completely in bed with it. You've got the bankers are completely in bed with it. How many people die and never even see their super? There you go. But it's all for you. It's to take care of you. No wonder people are so living hand to mouth. This is nearly 10% of their pay every week that gets put aside. That should be free for them to use. And sure, some people will piss it away, but let them. Then they'll live a shit life. They'll be serving Maccas when they're 80. Good on them. That's how you learn. There'll be a example of future generations. But other people... like these young guys here, they'll use it wisely. What do you think, everyone? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and want to support the content I create here, there are a few ways you can. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us via our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or Kucoin. You can buy our merch from HeiseSays. You can use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you next time.